The sun was barely up when the shelter doors creaked open, and a scarred brown pit bull was led into the main room by a shivering volunteer. The dog's name tag read Lucky, yet the sadness in her round eyes suggested fate had not been friendly so far. The stiff wire cage rattled every time she moved, making a metallic clank that echoed loudly around the high windowless concrete walls. As soon as the latch clicked open, she burst forward, letting out an ear-splitting squeal that sounded half growl and half laugh. The surprised staff froze, then laughed when they realized the noise was not anger, but honest delight at being noticed. Each shrill yelp bounced off metal mop buckets and stackable plastic crates like a trumpet announcing the arrival of a tiny parade, destined to brighten a dreary morning. The shelter manager, Ms. Rivera, knelt and offered a biscuit, and the pit bull's tail wagged so hard her back paws lifted. She kept squawking, rolling series of whoops that made even the sleepy kittens perk up in their carriers. The volunteers decided right away that Lucky did not suit her. The name Joy seemed to shine out of every squeal. They logged the change on the clipboard and marked her chart with bright yellow stars to flag her as friendly. Yet behind a boisterous voice lay cracked paw pads, ribs you could easily count, and a fresh round scar on her shoulder. The vet guessed she had delivered puppies and been dumped when feeding them got expensive. Joy did not complain. Instead, she hopped on 3 legs toward anyone who offered eye contact, bursting into another screech of glee. The sound was so high-pitched that one in turn compared it to a whistle kettle finally boiling. Words spread fast, and by lunchtime every volunteer had taken a turn just to hear the new dog sing. Even animals in neighboring kennels seemed calmer after her concerts, as though her happiness rubbed off on everyone. When closing hour neared, Joy was given a donated fleece blanket, but she refused to lie down, choosing instead to patrol her pen chirping. A gentle night volunteer named Kareem filmed a short clip of her celebratory noise and posted it to his small social page, hoping friends would smile. Within an hour, the video gained hundreds of likes, with commenters begging to know when this screaming cuddle muffin would be adoptable. Joy, oblivious to the growing fame, kept calling to every passerby, certain that each set of footsteps might lead to a forever home. Early the next morning, 8 families lined up outside the shelter, each clutching a printed application and a bag of treats. Ms. Rivera, astonished by the turnout, scheduled quick meet and greets to keep the lobby from turning into a barking circus. Joy greeted every visitor the same way, by unleashing a victorious shriek that rattled the ceiling vents and melted nervous smiles. Children covered their ears, then broke into giggles when they realized she was cheering for them like a tiny sports stadium. One boy declared that Joy sounded just like the vuvuzelas he had heard during a soccer championship on TV. After careful interviews, the shelter chose the Velasco family, whose quiet home on Maple Street offered a cozy backyard and no other pets. Mrs. Velasco signed the papers while Joy bounced in circles like a living pogo stick. The staff handed over a leash, a squeaky toy, and a polite warning that earplugs might be useful during the first week. On the ride home, Joy wedged herself between the twins, releasing squeals that harmonized with the open window wind. Neighbors peeked out of front doors when the Velasco minivan arrived, puzzled by the echoing calls that sounded like distant gulls. The moment the front gate swung open, Joy raced figure eights across the lawn, barking once, then flipping to her trademark scream. Birds resting on the power line scattered, yet nobody felt frightened. The noise was too joyful to be mistaken for a threat. Mr. Velasco, who played saxophone in a weekend band, joked that he finally had a vocalist who never missed a rehearsal. That evening, Joy discovered her reflection in the sliding glass door and serenaded the other dog for 15 straight minutes. The twins tried teaching her quiet using treats, but every reward only fueled another triumphant squeal, like coins fueling a jukebox. At bedtime, Joy chose to sleep on the hallway rug so she could greet each family member with a morning fanfare. Around midnight, she woke from a dream and released one loud whoop, startling herself into a joyful spin before settling again. Mrs. Velasco uploaded the hallway performance, captioning, "Our rescued pitbull can't stop screaming with happiness." By sunrise, clips of Joy had traveled across forums dedicated to positive news, gathering hearts, laughs, and adoption pledges for other pitbulls. The Velascos realized their new pet was becoming a small-town celebrity, but more important, she already felt completely at home. Joy's growing fame inspired the local dog park to host an adoption fair, and the Velascos offered to bring their living advertisement. On fair day, booths selling homemade biscuits and rainbow bandanas lined the grass, while big speakers played upbeat pop music. Joy recognized the gathering crowd and, true to style, announced her arrival with a jubilant yell that cut through the bass line. Every head turned, and cameras rose like sunflowers following light, eager to capture the sound that had charmed the internet. Shelter volunteers introduced her to shy dogs waiting for homes, hoping her enthusiasm might help them shine. Whenever Joy screamed, tails wagged harder, as though she conducted an unseen orchestra of optimism. A gray senior hound, frightened by loud noises, surprisingly crept forward to sniff Joy, drawn by the confidence in her cry. Children approaching the information tables received high-pitched greeting calls that made them giggle and linger long enough to read flyers. By noon, 3 hard-to-place dogs had found families, and organizers credited Joy's contagious excitement. A reporter asked Mr. Velasco whether the noise ever became a problem, and he answered that happiness, even noisy happiness, was worth hearing. That quote appeared on the evening news, paired with a montage of Joy's triumphant squeals set against a gentle guitar track. The station's meteorologist joked that next day's forecast called for full-scale, joyful howling over Maple Street. Joy herself seemed unaware of cameras. She focused on greeting new friends, occasionally pausing to roll on her back in the grass. When a nervous toddler dropped an ice cream cone, Joy trotted over, let out a small, comforting squeak, and sat until the tears stopped. The child hugged her neck, unfazed by the unusual soundtrack, proving again that sincerity matters more than volume. Inspired volunteers decided to create joyful yell badges for every adopted pitbull, celebrating loud love rather than hiding it. On the walk home, Joy marched like a triumphant parade float, announcing each step with a series of proud chirps. Passing cars slowed, and passengers laughed, recording short clips to share with friends, widening the circle of smiles. Back at the house, Joy collapsed on her favorite blanket, releasing one last soft squeal, as though whispering goodnight to the world. The Velascos, tired but proud, agreed that their home had never felt so alive, all thanks to a rescued pitbull who refused to stay quiet. Despite her cheerful voice, Joy still needed basic obedience lessons, so the family enrolled her in Saturday classes at Friendly Paws Academy. The trainer, Ms. Chin, had a calm presence and a box of liver treats powerful enough to make elephants sit. Joy's classmates included a timid spaniel, a bossy dachshund, and a calm husky who snored during lectures. At the first session, Joy introduced herself with a single, heroic scream that made the husky open one eye in mild astonishment. Rather than scold her, Ms. Chin smiled and said, "That is one confident communicator. Let's teach her a softer volume dial." Using hand signals and timed rewards, they practiced inside voice, encouraging Joy to trade full-volume cheers for quiet grumbles. Progress was slow, yet every small success earned applause from other owners, and Joy basked in their praise with many yelps of joy. After 4 weeks, she could greet a stranger with a gentle chirrup, saving the full stadium roar for truly big moments. Ms. Chin asked the Velascos if they would consider therapy dog certification, noting Joy's rare talent for instantly lifting moods. The family loved the idea, imagining hospital halls ringing with happy squeals instead of scary silence. To prepare, Joy visited a retirement home, where residents lined the corridor, waiting to meet the famous singing dog. She entered calmly, offering soft-nosed nudges, but when one patient clapped in delight, Joy treated everyone to a short victory yell. Instead of complaints, the hall filled with laughter, canes tapping in rhythm, and one gentleman shouting, "Encore!" News of the visit spread, and donations flowed to both the retirement home and the shelter that had saved Joy months earlier. Joy's joyful noise had become more than entertainment. It was a bridge connecting lonely people to fresh hope. Even Ms. Chen admitted she had never seen a pitbull use enthusiasm as therapy quite so effectively. During the certification test, Joy performed every command, adding her signature shriek only after the judge declared test complete. The judge laughed so hard that he almost dropped the certificate but managed to sign it with a flourish and a broad grin. Joy left the building with a new harness labeled Certified Therapy Dog, strutting like a rock star, leaving the stage. That night, the Velascos hung the certificate beside family photos, knowing their once-abandoned pitbull had found a purpose only she could fulfill. As autumn arrived, Joy and the Velascos joined a regional pet expo, where hundreds of visitors browsed booths filled with glittering collars and gourmet treats. The expo featured a talent showcase, and organizers begged Joy to close the show with her famous happiness scream. Backstage, she waited beside juggling parrots and a pig who painted with its snout, her tail beating a steady drum roll on the floor. When her turn arrived, the lights dimmed, and a hush swept over the crowd curious to hear the internet legend live. Joy trotted onto the stage, paused center spot, and unleashed a roaring squeal that soared higher than the speaker system's intro music. Gasps turned to cheers, and thousands of glow sticks waved like tiny meteors celebrating her joyous noise in the darkened arena. The MC declared she had the loudest love in the county and handed Mrs. Velasco a trophy shaped like a megaphone. Sponsors donated kibble for every decibel reached, so Joy's single screech provided a month of meals for the shelter. A famous podcaster on site invited Joy and the family for a recorded interview, promising to amplify her message of rescue dog positivity to new ears. During the podcast, Joy punctuated each happy anecdote with short chirps, creating a playful rhythm that listeners adored. Download numbers spiked, and the podcaster donated ad revenue to pitbull rescue organizations nationwide. Joy's social account hit 1 million followers, a milestone celebrated with a post showing her in a party hat, mouth open mid-scream. Underneath, the caption read, "Because every voice deserves to be heard, no matter how loud." Schools requested virtual visits, hoping Joy could teach lessons about kindness, resilience, and using your voice for good. In each session, Joy sat calmly until the end, then gave one finale squeal that left classrooms clapping. Teachers reported that shy students felt braver after meeting a dog who turned a flaw into a superpower. Even parents wrote thank you emails, saying their children now asked to volunteer at shelters instead of malls. Joy's fame had never been the goal, yet it became a magnet pulling communities toward compassion and shared action. The Velascos managed the attention carefully, ensuring Joy still enjoyed ordinary walks, cozy naps, and backyard fetch. Through every new adventure, Joy's joyous scream remained steady, an audible reminder that happiness grows louder when shared. Winter's first snow dusted Maple Street like powdered sugar, and Joy bounded outside, leaving scattered paw-print cookies in the white. She tipped her nose to the sky, inhaled icy flakes, and burst into a squeal so bright it seemed to warm the air itself. The Velascos built a small snow ramp, and Joy used it to launch playful leaps, punctuating every jump with excited yips. Neighbors joined, shaping a snow pit bull with an open mouth that looked ready to sing, then posed for photos with the living original. Later that evening, the town square hosted a holiday tree lighting ceremony, and organizers invited Joy to announce the countdown. Wrapped in a red scarf, she trotted onto the platform beside the mayor, who held a microphone but wisely stepped back. The crowd chanted, 3, 2, 1, and on cue Joy delivered a triumphant scream as thousands of lights blinked on. Cheers mingled with her echo, and for a heartbeat the cold night felt as warm as a summer porch. A choir began singing, and Joy, satisfied with her role, settled at Mrs. Velasco's feet, listening quietly. The mayor proclaimed December 12th Joyful Sound Day, encouraging residents to share kindness in loud and creative ways. Social feeds flooded with videos of people clanging pans, blowing kazoos, and yes, imitating Joy's unique squeal for charity pledges. Funds raised supported both the local shelter and the retirement home, honoring the two places where Joy's happiness had taken root. Back at the house, Joy curled beside the fireplace, eyes half closed yet ears twitching at every crackle. Mr. Velasco whispered that they had never imagined a single dog could change so many hearts simply by loving out loud. Joy answered with a soft chirrup, too content for a full scream, proving she now understood the value of volume control. The twins draped a blanket over her shoulders, calling her queen of happy noise, a title Joy accepted with a wag. Outside, snow continued to fall, muffling sounds, but inside the Velasco home the atmosphere glowed with unspoken music. Joy's journey from abandoned and scarred to celebrated and loved showed that every life carries a spark waiting to be cheered on. The family drifted to sleep while Joy watched the window, guarding the night with silent loyalty, saving her next scream for sunrise. And somewhere in dreams, the pitbull's voice soared again, a joyful anthem reminding everyone that happiness, once found, deserves to be heard. Spring returned with fresh buds on every branch, and Joy greeted the season by inventing a softer victory, ill she called her garden cheer. The Velascos hung a bell on the back door, and Joy learned to tap it politely when she wanted butterfly time instead of bursting out in siren mode. One Saturday, the family drove to the library where kids practiced reading to dogs, and Joy listened so closely that timid readers forgot to be shy. Whenever a child stumbled, Joy tilted her head, let out a tiny squeak, and wagged hard, encouraging them to try again. Librarians reported record crowds, saying the screaming pit bull had turned books into adventures worth shouting about. Later that month, Joy starred in a short documentary filmed by high schoolers, and her unstoppable happiness kept every scene bright. The video showed her old scars but focused on the sparkle in her eyes, proving hope can sing louder than hurt. Classrooms streamed a film and talked about empathy, resilience, and speaking up for the voiceless. Joy knew nothing about cameras. She just enjoyed extra ear rubs each time someone said, "Good dog, you lifted my day." On Earth Day, she helped the twins collect litter, squealing each time a bottle clinked into the recycling sack. Hikers asked why a dog celebrated trash pickup, and the twins replied that every small win deserved a big cheer. Inspired strangers joined in, and soon the trail rang with laughter, rustling bags, and Joy's proud anthem. News outlets call the effort Project Joyful Echo, showing how one rescued pit bull sparked a cleanup wave. That evening, curled beside a sunset window, Joy watched birds glide through orange clouds and offered a gentle sigh instead of her usual roar. Mr. Velasco whispered that even quiet moments hold music when shared with someone who loves life out loud. The twins recorded the sigh, layered it over cleanup photos, and posted, urging followers to shout kindness in their own way. Donations poured in, funding tree saplings planted under a sign reading, "These roots grew because Joy yelled for them." As stars blinked on, Joy rested her chin on Mrs. Velasco's shoe, eyes half closed yet gleaming, ready for tomorrow's wonders. Outside, crickets sang, and the pit bull's tail felt woven into their song, proof that every voice, big or small, matters. When the lights dimmed, Joy dreamed of new adventures, promising another happy scream at dawn to remind the world hope wakes early.